Welcome to the Send More Offers Real Estate Show with Brandon Barnes, showing you how to do wholesaling deals consistently without having to go on seller appointments. Learn the key tips and strategies that Brandon's students use to find deeply discounted properties that are pennies on the dollar, all while avoiding wear and tear on their vehicle, body, and freedom. Whether you're looking for your first deal or your next deal, it's time to send more offers with your host, Brandon Barnes.
Mark, welcome to the show. Super excited to have you here.
Brandon Barnes, I'm thrilled to be here. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Look, I mean, we were talking pre-episode, and a lot of the guys that I know that specialize in land acquisition, land deals, you know, it sounds like you've trained them, you've mentored them, and got them going. So I guess you're the OG here, right?
I'm the OG. They came to me. I'm very proud of it.
Love it. Very cool. So, you know, the headline, 6,000 land deals and growing over the years, you know, is this something that you stumbled into, or, you know, were you always into land? How did you get going with this?
So I was a miserable, micromanaged 45-minute commute to work and back investment banker, specializing in mergers and acquisitions with private equity groups. And Brandon, it got so bad for me. I wouldn't get the Sunday blues anticipating Monday coming around. I'd get the Friday blues anticipating the weekend going by really fast and having to be back at work on Monday. So my firm hires this guy, and he's telling me that as a side hustle, he's buying up land pennies on the dollar at tax deed auctions. He's flipping them online, and he's making a 300% return on his money. And I'm looking at companies all day long, and a great company, great, has 10% EBITDA margins or free cash flow. I'm sorry, 15% is great. 10% is average. And I'm looking at companies all day long, less than 10%. So of course, I don't believe him. So I've got $3,000 saved up for car repairs. I go to New Mexico with him. I do exactly what he tells me to do. I buy 10 half-acre parcels, an average price of $300 each. I flip them online, and they all sell for an average price of $1,200 each. It worked, 300%. So I took all that money, went to another auction, and this is Arizona where I live. And this is 2000. There's no one in the room. And I'm buying up lots and acreage for nothing. And I sell all that land, and I made over $90,000 cash. So I go to my wife, who's pregnant. I said, honey, I'm going to quit my job and become a full-time land investor. And she said, absolutely not. So I said, okay. So it took about 18 months for the land investing income to exceed the investment banking income. And then I quit. I've been doing it full-time ever since, and absolutely love it.
Wow. That's an amazing story. I love it. And, you know, I was going to ask about the timeline because, you know, I know things have gotten tougher, and, you know, the deals out there, there's a lot of people that are investing in land. You know, can you still use that same strategy that you did by going to tax sale auctions or foreclosure auctions on land and buy land, or is it more about the direct response marketing that you do to get that?
So I'm going to walk you through the model because I don't want them to go to tax deed auction. I don't want to compete. I want to get the property before it goes to auction. Yeah. So Brandon, where do you live?
I'm in Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta, Georgia. Okay, I'm going to assume that you own 5 acres of raw land where I live in Arizona, and you owe $200 in back taxes. So you're advertising two important things to me. Number one, you have no emotional attachment to the raw land. You're in Georgia, the property's in Arizona. And number two, you're distressed financially in some weird way because you haven't paid your property taxes. As a result, the county treasurer keeps sending you notices saying, Brandon, if you don't pay your property taxes, you're going to lose that property to a tax deed or a tax lien investor. So all I'm going to do is look at the comparable sales on your 5-acre parcel for the last 12 to 18 months. I'm going to take the lowest comparable sale. Let's say it's $10,000. I'm going to divide by 4, and I'm going to send you an offer of $2,500. And what that does, when I divide by 4, that gives me a 300% margin of safety, right? And so you accept the $2,500 offer. Why? Because for you, $2,500 is better than nothing. Now, in reality, 3 to 5% of people are going to accept your quote unquote top dollar offer, right? But now that you've accepted it, I have to go through due diligence or in-depth research. I have to confirm you still own the property. I have to confirm back taxes are only $200. I have to make sure there's been no breaks in the chain and title, no liens or encumbrances. And I have this whole property checklist. I outsource it to my team in Jamaica. It costs about $11. They're connected to an American title company. They do the whole report for me. And then I'm getting my marketing done during due diligence, because I might hire somebody locally for $50 to go out, look at the property, fill out, what are the neighbors doing? Is there any trash around? What are the roads like? Mountains, streams, rivers, whatever it may be, right? Yeah. And so they're sending me pictures. I'm getting all the information I'm going to need for a buyer. Now, assuming everything checks out, I'm going to close with you, send you a check for $2,300, send a check to the treasurer for $200. I own it free and clear. And now I'm going to sell that property 30 days or less. I'm going to make a cash flow like a rental home. So Brandon, I have a built-in best buyer. Do you know who it is?
Who is it?
The neighbors. So I'm going to send out neighbor letters saying, hey, here's your opportunity. Protect your privacy, protect your views, know your neighbors. Oftentimes the neighbors will buy. Now, if the neighbors pass, I'll go to my buyers list. If the buyers list passes, I'll go to a little website you may have never heard of. It's called Craigslist. It's the 15th most trafficked website in the United States. Oh, wow. I'm also going to go to a website I know you've heard of called Meta, or Facebook, buy-sell groups in the marketplace. And then I'm going to go to the lands, landmodo.com, landandfarm.com, landsofamerica.com, landcentury.com, landflip.com, landhub.com. These are platforms where people buy and sell raw land. But the magic and the secret of all of this is I'm going to make my pricing irresistible. So all I'm going to ask for is a $2,500 down payment for someone to control that 5-acre parcel that you used to own. And then I'm making a car payment. Let's say $2,500 down, $197 a month at 9% interest for the next 72 months, right? So it's a one-time sale. I get my money out on the down payment. I could go 6 to 10 months out. And then I'm going to get $197 a month at 9% interest for the next 72 months. No renters, no rehabs, no renovations, no rodents. And because I'm not dealing with a tenant, I'm exempt from Dodd-Frank, RESPA, and the SAFE Act. So it's a simple game. Can we create enough land notes where our passive income exceeds our fixed expenses? And now we're working because we want to, not because we have to.
Love it. Love it. So selling land on terms. I love that model. And, I know that, we kind of went through that example, somewhat fast. Just to go back to the beginning, when you talked about the pricing and dividing the offer by 4, I originally thought that you were dividing the total amount of the comparable sale by the amount of acres it was. But when you said divided by 4, was that just to get the margins right?
That's to get the margins right. So what I'm trying to get what Warren Buffett would call 300% margin of safety. So if the lowest comparable sale is $10,000, I don't want to pay any more than $2,500. Now, in some cases, right, in hotter counties, maybe I'll divide by 3, right? Maybe I'll divide by 3.5. But I'm going to be in that area, and it's going to be guided by the market. Because if, let's say my 3 to 5% response rate really is that metric, because if it's under 3%, I know my offer is too low. If it's over 5%, I've come in too high and I need to retrade. So we really need to know our numbers, and keeping track of it's easy. 90% of this business is automated with software on the front end, software on the back end, and inexpensive virtual assistants.
Yeah, let's talk about some of that software, because I know I've heard of some of the land comparable websites that you can upload a spreadsheet of different lots, and it'll give you a feel for what's the estimated value, and you can kind of look at it as a big sheet. Do you use some software like that, or is it just as simple as you're doing it kind of one by one and doing the math?
Yeah, I mean, my team goes to a site like landmodo.com. We'll create a pricing matrix and then create our pricing from there. We don't. I mean, for that, we don't need to really get software on that. I mean, it's not necessarily accurate.
Right. I know.
I mean, there's it's like a layer above data tree, so it's not really giving us what we need. But so I want to get more accurate data from the actual market. But so that's really going to help. And then you can just go directly to the assessor as well and confirm those numbers.
Yeah,
and
I
just
was
create
going to say,
a pricing matrix.
as far as kind of deep diving that part of the process, when you're first starting to pull the land list, are you using a list source or are you using just regular
Well,
MLS and
yeah, I
seeing
mean,
what's out
just,
there?
if you're listening to this, you get a discount. Go to datatree.com/the Land Geek. That's how we get the list.
Okay. Awesome. So let's talk about the scale of things. Like now that you've been doing this, 6,000 plus transactions over the years, right? How much marketing is still going out? If you were either, I don't know if your team is still, pushing hard or if you've, slowed down, but even if you just, mentioned to one of your mentees, like how much activity do they have to put out to be able to receive the amount of opportunities that you would need to make this a real business?
Yeah, we recommend to our clients send 30 offers a day. That's it, 30 offers a day. And we have a software that automates it called LG Pass. So Land Geek proprietary automated software system. There's other systems out there. You want to use a software program to automate your mailings. But what's nice about ours is that you can automate adjusting your pricing. You can keep track of everything. It just takes you very simply, step by step, through the process. Your team can get in there, leave you notes as well. And then for the paperwork, when you sell the property, there's a land sale contract, there's a promissory note, there's a purchase sale agreement. What used to take 20 minutes of paperwork now takes 1 second. And it auto-populates all that as well.
Love it.
The last thing I want anyone to do is build another job for themselves. So we want to create a business. And so from the automation standpoint, 30 offers a day. If you start doing more than that, it's like, imagine you're out of shape and then you go to the gym and you start lifting really heavy, right? You're going to hurt yourself and you're just not built yet to do it. You don't have the foundation to do it. But if you start light and easy, you can start getting your team to handle the due diligence. But if you start sending out 1,000 offers right away, you're going to be inundated with deal flow and you won't be able to close timely. And so the person who's light and nimble is going to close on that deal faster than you would be able to.
I love that. Because formerly I thought, hey, we would pull a list of a few thousand, and send it out and see what comes back. Are you suggesting to, pull that list, kind of do the upfront work and then break it into smaller pieces and then
absolutely
go?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
30 a day.
Awesome. So what does the team look like for this? Either your team or, let's take a average mentee, that's already kind of been getting it going and doing deals. Do you have, a acquisitions VA, a data person, and then a sales VA or?
Yeah. I mean, we have all of those things. I think, the first thing we say to outsource is, what do you hate doing the most? So for me, like, you were just like on a call with a seller and you just said to me, sellers like to talk, and boy, do they like to talk. So if I had to hear another story about how they bought the property, why they bought the property, when they bought the property, I was going to pull my hair out. So the first person I hired was an intake manager. And so the intake manager would qualify the seller. Are they accepting the offer, or are they just calling to yell at me because they don't like the offer? Or are they confused about the offer? So the intake manager saves a ton of time. So I think, once you hire intake manager, food tastes better, colors are more vibrant, and you save yourself a ton of time. And once you have that bandwidth, then you can start looking at other pieces in the business. So for example, due diligence, that's really easy to outsource. So there's like a little microeconomy now of companies that'll do it. A company that I work with is called Land VA, and the number 4U and the letter U.com, landva4u.com. And they have trained virtual assistants just in the land business that can handle every aspect of this business for you. There's other ones out there as well. I haven't used all of them. I'm sure my clients have, but the one that we recommend is going to be that one as well. However, there's a difference between delegating and abdicating. I wouldn't, rely on, inexpensive virtual assistants in Jamaica to run my land business for me. Right. So we want to have systems and processes and software, and we need to know what we're doing, how to do the county research, how to craft a very good marketing ad. If I have to see another Chat GPT ad that says slice of, I'm like, oh, they just use Chat GPT. They didn't even think about it. So there's definitely things you want to do to manage your team well, but the teams are already pre-built for you in this niche.
Love it. Let's talk about location, because I know some areas may be better than others. And I'm assuming you're primarily focused on rural, raw land.
We're primarily focused on rural land, 2 to 3 hours outside the nearest city, and so a lot of times I'll get newbies coming to me and say, "Mark, this doesn't work." I'm like, where are you mailing? And they're telling me in their backyard in Minnesota or Iowa.
Yeah.
And I'm like, look, nobody wakes up and thinks to themselves, boy, I'd like some raw land today in Minnesota or Iowa,
right.
Unless you live in Minnesota or Iowa. So we want to focus on markets that are the sunshine states. So Nevada, Colorado, Arizona, Texas, New Mexico, California, Florida. These are the sunshine states. Maybe a little bit in the Northwest, Oregon, Washington. These are states that have a ton of inexpensive raw land. And so you want to go to a site like a landmodo.com and see where are the other land investors buying, right? So imagine, Brandon, you and I are out fishing and we see 10 boats on a bank and they're all catching fish. And then we see 2 other boats on the opposite side and they're not catching any fish. We have a decision to make. Do we go where there's less competition or do we go where there's fish being caught? What do you think?
I mean, that's an interesting question. Depends on how risk averse you are, right? Maybe these guys over here it's just 2 of them. Maybe they're not doing it right, and you can go over there and dominate. I'd ask you, like, what works for you in this business?
Well, if I'm new, I'm not taking the risk, and I'm not going to spend my time wondering if those 2 people just are bad fishermen. I'm going to go where I know definitively people are catching fish, whether they're good, they're bad. I want to be in a hot market. Yeah. So it's just like, let's look at like a fast food example, right? Would you rather own a Wendy's or an In-N-Out burger? They'll both make money.
You're right.
But In-N-Out burger has lines.
Yeah.
Right?
I like In-N-Out. Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. And everyone likes In-N-Out. So we want to go to In-N-Out burger counties. You can still make money at a Wendy's county. Absolutely. It's just going to take longer to sell the property. I've never been stuck with a piece of raw land. They all sell at the right price.
Love it. That's a gem. So, with that, I was going to ask about competition because I've done some marketing for land, and I also want to talk about infield lots. But I did experience at times where, folks said, hey, I got a lot of these letters already. I think I was in Florida at that time. And have you started to see competition pick up? Are you beating them out? How are you dealing with any competition, if at all, when you're coming across and mailing to your preferred counties?
Yeah, I don't think we have any competition in a weird way, right? I mean, you, me, 1 million people could be in this niche. We'll all run out of money before we run out of deal flow. It's just such a huge market, and you couldn't think of a more boring niche. You're not going to go on HGTV or the DIY network and say, flip this land. The before picture is raw land. The after picture is raw land. If you go to a RIA meeting, a Real Estate Investor Association meeting, 100 people in that room, 99 of them are going to be flippers, wholesalers, and landlords. You and I would probably be the only land guys out there. So it might feel like that because, you're a podcast and you're talking to people who are doing it. But I guarantee you're probably talking to a lot more wholesalers, landlords, flippers than you are land people. And, there's billions of acres of land available. And so the more people who are in this niche, I think it just validates the market to the seller. So if a seller gets 5 offers, right, and they're all in the same price range, they're not coming back to you and trying to renegotiate because this must be in the market. So it's really about consistency. In the same way, MasterCard, Visa, American Express, they keep sending me credit card offers. Every single day, they're showing up. No one's complaining about the competition in the credit card industry because they have massive margins.
Right.
So one day when you need credit, you're going to accept it.
Yeah. Love it. Let's talk about infill lots. Do you ever turn your marketing or have you ever turned your marketing into, pointing it towards a city and tried to find land for developers or rehabbers? Like, can this work in that niche, or is that just something that you stay away from?
I stay away from it simply because I've got enough in my niche. So I'm an inch wide and a mile deep. I think that you're going to have the biggest buyer pool when you go to the general public and, people who want a piece of raw land. The taxes are inexpensive. Once you start doing infill lots, you have a very, very small buyer pool in that market. And now you're market dependent. Your margins aren't going to be the same. It's not going to be as inefficient. I mean, if I got a nice infill lot in San Francisco or Atlanta, right? I'm not going to sell it 25 cents on the dollar. I'm going to go to the biggest, baddest land broker in town, sell it for 110, 125 cents on the dollar. So we're making our money on the buy. I don't want to speculate on an infill lot deal. That's not to say you can't make a lot of money on people, selling infill lots that, just like anything in real estate, they need cash, right? And you're solving their problem. And then you can go to your neighbor and they'll sell it, or a developer, and you'll sell it. It's a great model. It's just not one that I like to play in. The risk reward ratio for me is way better on my niche. That being said, nothing wrong with it.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Love it. What does your business look like today? I mean, you've been doing this, for a while. You got a bunch of transactions under your belt. You have mentees that are doing well. Are you still guns a-blazing, same amount of marketing that you were doing in the past, or are you starting to look at any other types of deals?
No, we do about a deal a day. So, we're trying to buy every day, sell every day. And the team just continues to grow. We love it. So I think we sold 61 properties last month.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That is.
Yeah. I mean, so, I spent about 30 minutes
month.
a week in the business, talking to my team, acquisition manager, and just growing it. So
that's amazing.
Yeah. It's a great business.
Yeah. Cash flow, like, do you have cash flow goals? Like what can this do for you? And not to pry, but just, is this at a point where you want to be able to have, 50, 100K a month? Like what's ideal?
Let's just go through the numbers. So let's say, we'll tell our clients the minimum you should do in this business in 12 to 18 months is $10,000 a month in passive income. Well, if we back out our numbers, we know to get to $10,000 a month in passive income in 12 to 18 months, you need to invest $100,000 into raw land in our niche. So that's okay if you don't have $100,000. You can start with $20,000. You can start with $10,000. You can start with $500 and start building up from there. It doesn't really matter. But if you're ambitious, which probably a lot of the listeners are, you want to know, well, what's it going to take to get to $100,000 a month in passive income in raw land? Well, it's going to take $1 million in land investing to do that. If you want to do $200,000 a month, you're going to have $2 million invested into raw land. So, and then it's going to take you, say, 12 to 18 months, depending on your team. It might take 36 months. It's really just a numbers game at that point. But for people starting out, they want to get to $5,000 a month. You have to invest in $50,000 in raw land. You have to keep reinvesting and working those numbers and doing it from there. You're also going to have to calculate defaults as well. In a market like this, it's strong. You can figure, if we're not doing credit checks, a 12 to 15% default rate. When we hit the recession, it's going to go maybe 20 to 30% default rate at the highest, but defaults are great. What
Right.
happens?
Take it back and resell
You
it.
take it back, you resell it, they've lowered your cost basis, and you redo it, you figure out that market.
Love it. And just as a follow up, just to get going, what would you say somebody needs to have in their budget to be able to just start this operation?
I like $5,000, honestly. I think that's a good starting number to get going. You want to be able to buy 5 to 7 properties on the outset. That's going to be your magic number. If you're just marketing one property, it's a weird thing. It just doesn't sell as quickly as somebody who's got 5 to 7 properties in inventory.
Hey, well, that's great. Look, I want to do the segment called Deal Diaries at this point and really just share with us any specific deal that just was a crazy experience, a very unique deal or a big one. Pick your choice. Do you have something that you can kind of walk us through so we get a feel for what one of these deals might be like?
Yeah, so I did a crazy deal years ago when I first started out. I messed up on my due diligence. I bought 40 acres in New Mexico on the side of a mountain. So there was like, maybe 10 accessible acres of the 40. And so I paid $2,500 for it. And I'm like, oh gosh, what am I going to do here? So I'm like, well, if I get $2,500 out, great. So I put it on eBay for $1, 10-day auction. And the first day it got bid up to $2,500. I'm starting to get a little nervous. By the 10th day, it was at $32,500. And I'm freaking out. I'm like, is there something wrong with my ad? Or are people not seeing it's on a side of a mountain?
How much did you buy it for again?
$2,500.
Okay.
So I'm like, there's something wrong. Like, am I misrepresenting this property? Like it's clearly on the side of a mountain. And I put like little square there showing it's inaccessible. I mean, it's a mountain.
Yeah.
And I can't figure it out. So the winning bidder wins, and I'm like, oh no, this is not good. So I immediately call him. I'm like, hey, you saw the ad, right? He's like, yeah, it's perfect. I'm like, what are you going to do with this property? He's like, I'm a film director in LA, and I've been working on trying to get permits with the county to film out there, and they've been terrible to work with. So this is cheaper and faster to just buy the land than deal with the county. So I realized that was, that's when I came up with the phrase, there's a pig for every barn. They all sell, even when you mess up.
That's amazing. And when you say it was on the side of a mountain, could you, walk up the side of the mountain? Like how did the
Honestly,
land
I don't even know. I never even looked at the property. I could just see on the topographic map, like this is a mountain. I bought a mountain.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. How much were you expecting to be able to sell it for?
$2,500. I was hoping to get.
I mean, hey, you walked away with a little bit more than
40
that.
acres. Yeah.
Love it. So you're able to walk away with a nice little chunk of change on this mountainside land acreage. 40 acres, that's still, that's a good piece of land. I wonder what he did with it after that, after the film.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Awesome. Well, look, I can't let you go without putting you through the lightning round. Are you ready for that?
I'm ready.
All right. Good stuff. So look, I have a series of rapid fire questions. You don't know the question. I don't know your answer. So just say the very first thing that comes to your mind. What's one book that's been instrumental to your growth as a real estate investor?
The One Thing by Gary Keller.
Perfect. That's a good one. If you could have drinks or coffee with any one person, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
First thing that comes to mind, dead or alive, drinks. Wow.
Or coffee.
Or coffee. That'd be interesting to meet Jesus.
That goes without saying, without explaining. Love that one. What is your best advice for someone looking to do their very first land deal?
Get educated.
Good stuff. It's always good. What's one mistake on a deal specifically or business in general that if you could do over, you would take that do over?
One mistake?
Yeah. A deal or business in general.
I did a development deal in area in Pennsylvania, and it's because I liked the deal. It wasn't because the market liked it. And It has a property owners association. It was gated, and it was beautiful, but it was overdeveloped by the developer. It was like overdeveloped by 1,000 lots. And so I went in there, and it took me 3 years to negotiate this deal with the property owners association. And I said, look, you got all this dead money. I'm going to resurrect it. You got no one paying taxes. You have no one paying your POA fees. I thought, this is a slam dunk deal. And I could buy these lots for $50 each.
Oh, wow.
Well, it turns out that, by the time I was done with my negotiation, it was 2007. I made like $100,000 on the deal. And then 2008 came, and I'd give the lots back. So that was a big mistake. Just because I like the property doesn't mean the market likes it. There's a reason they were selling.
Yeah, no, that's a really big fact. You can be emotionally invested. Business is business. When you say you made $100,000 on the deal, but then had to give it back, what do you mean by that?
Well, because I'd made a deal with the county and the property owners association that while I owned the property, there'd be no taxes and there'd be no POA fees for my company. So I got these abatements, but I said, then I'll sell the properties for you essentially, and I'll make my margin. And then they basically kind of gave me the lots. So, in 2007, I was making great money on the lots, but then 2008, no one was buying anything. And I felt badly, like, okay, I'm not going to hold these lots up for the.
Yeah. Love it. That's an interesting one. Just by the way, as a follow-up question, have you sold to developers before? I know you sell to a lot of regular owners, people that just want the land, and neighbors. But have you gotten a land, like a good piece of land that a developer actually came in and took it off your hands to develop?
Honestly, if it's in the path of growth, I'll keep it and put it in my trusts. And there's a little note to my kids: don't sell until a developer offers you, the 7-figure offer. So we come across those, but I don't sell them.
Got it. So you do have some holdings of land.
Yeah. I mean, that's how that land banking model looks like a hockey stick. So it's flat. You're paying your taxes. It's negative cash flow, and then boom, development comes in, and hockey sticks up.
Love it. Good stuff. What is the financial goal for your team for this calendar year? That could be an acreage bought or amount of deals that you want to get
The
done.
goal is just we want to do a deal a day. We're going to do 365 deals a year.
Love it. If you woke up tomorrow with $500 million deposited into your account overnight, what's the first thing that you would go out and purchase with that newfound money?
I'd set up a charitable foundation. For me, I've sort of at the point now in my life where, I want all the things money can't buy. I want a fit body, a calm mind, a house full of love, and those don't cost anything, right? I can't pay someone to do my push-ups for me. Yeah. I can't pay someone to meditate for me, right? I can't. I guess I could, bring my family into therapy, but that's not going to help that much. Like you gotta work on it.
Yeah. I like that. A fit body, a quiet mind, and a house full of love. That is a quotable, a bar, if you will. Last one. What is the final piece of advice that you would give to somebody that is struggling to do, consistent deals, deal after deal? Maybe they've done one and they're trying to do the next one. How would you help that person to scale and get their business rolling?
I mean, there's this great Zig Ziglar quote that I think helps anyone struggling. If you'll do for the next 3 to 5 years what other people won't do, you'll be able to do for the rest of your life what other people can't do. And notice he didn't say 3 to 5 months. And so people set these arbitrary timelines on them. On a long enough timeline in real estate, everyone gets paid. Everyone. But what happens is we get in our own way, we get frustrated, we go on another podcast, we're like, screw it, ATM investing, right? And so it's like trying to build a bridge and you get halfway done with the bridge and you're like, okay, I'm going to go build another bridge. Like, no, finish the freaking bridge. Right. Doesn't matter. And then you get to the other side.
Yeah. Good stuff. I love it, man. Well, this has been an amazing episode. We've learned a lot. You broke down exactly how this business runs, exactly, how to go out and pull the data, put the team in place to do deals, and giving us some really great advice just generally. about this business and real estate as a whole. What's a good place that people can go to find out more about what you have going on, or sign up for mentorship in this space?
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to start small, dip your toe in the water, and get educated. So I'd say I'm going to give you a link to my free book, Dirt Rich. Dirt Rich 2 is coming out soon, how to scale your land business. But to get started, you want to start with Dirt Rich. And I have a link to that. It's free. You just pay for the shipping and get started there. And then from there, check out the landgeek.com.
Awesome.
Yeah, as well.
It'll be in the show notes, folks. It's been great. I really appreciate you, Mark. Everything that you taught us. I can't wait to see kind of where this journey goes for you next, and keep crushing it. I want to invite everybody out to sendmoreoffers.com as well. While you're at it, there's nothing there for sale at this point, but just a bunch of great information, show notes from all the best guests, and everything that they have to offer. And if you want to connect with me, sendmoreoffers.com is the way to do so. Mark, I appreciate your time. This has been great, man.
Thanks, Brandon. Appreciate you.
And guys, as always, send more offers, do more deals. Until next time, peace.
That's all for this episode of the Send More Offers Real Estate Show with Brandon Barnes. But we know you're craving more knowledge to get yourself ready for that next deal. To schedule a call with Brandon to learn more about how to do deals consistently without seller appointments in a repeatable way, be sure to visit us at sendmoreoffers.com. And be sure to tune in for the next episode of the Send More Offers Real Estate Show.